Hey Whovians, what's going on? I'm also a watcher of Whovians USA. I don't watch the show, but I really enjoy Whovians anyways. It's a silly thing, and I think you should keep doing it. Have fun.
Thus begins my review of The Rebel Flesh and The Almost People. The episodes are set in the 22nd century, where the TARDIS, after being hit by a massive solar flare, sends the Doctor to an island occupied by a factory in the form of a monastery, where several workers are mining acid. Why are they mining acid? Seriously, this is never explained in either of the episodes. It's being shipped to a nearby city on the mainland, but for what purpose? Well, unanswered questions aside, the Doctor continues into the monastery while at the same time looking at a snow globe. Because it detects solar flares? This is also something that is never explained. I mean, if it's meant to detect solar flares, then why don't you just look outside? And if it's not, then why is it there? We are then taken to the acid room, where we see that someone really needs to pull their hairs out of the soap. Ah! We then discover that the factory is using flesh duplicates of the actual workers to mine the acid in order to prevent injury and death. On top of the monastery looking great, the visual effects and the makeup effects look incredibly realistic, keeping up with the great effects that we've seen in Series 6. The downside to the doppelgangers, though, seeing as they're sentient copies, is the morality message. Other reviews about these episodes have brought up about how it's constantly used, but I don't think we've seen just how much it's used.
It acts like life, but it still needs to be controlled by us. Moss grows, it's no more than that.
It's just gunge.
Stolen lives.
I'm not a factory part. I'm not a monster.
You're a copy.
Tell it.
He had a heart!
Why should we suffer for the sake of human beings?
We get it! And what follows next, well, isn't any better. The usual plain writing that I expect.
That's alarm.
Is it now? Are you sure? Let's hear it again just to be sure.
That's alarm.
Stop the fucking presses.
If you don't prepare for this storm, you are all in terrible danger, understand?
My factory. My rules.
Yes, because taking shelter for a couple of minutes is going to hamper so much progress. So the symbolism continues, and Rory goes off to make sure that Jennifer is okay. Was that a bad effect, or was that just bad editing? On the topic of Rory in these episodes, it was nice to see him go off on his own adventure and basically stand up for what he believes in, only to have him get whipped by another bitch. So the flesh shenanigans continue through the dining hall.
Transmatter's still a little rubbery, nerve ending's not quite fused properly.
What are you talking about?
It's okay.
Why didn't I feel that?
Because your acting is stale. Now, I'm not going to be too harsh on this actress, but she basically just plays two emotions. Her normal self is bitchy, and her ganger self is just boring.
That is just so typically me.
I thought they shared the same everything, so why does her ganger always sound so bored?
Stop it!
Okay! So the rest of the team realize that Rory might be in danger and go to look for him, very stupidly. As we can see, the acid is leaking onto the floor and spraying out of a pipe, and yet Amy's fine. So then we get more character development with Jennifer as Rory finds her.
A tough Jennifer. She'd lead me home.
Even though we didn't know much about the original Jennifer, she was still a great character that combined both a sympathetic and evil aspect to her to where we could be fine without knowing the real one. So the doppelgangers meet their real forms, and the typical plot device shoots one of them in order to continue the story.
If it's war, then it's war.
No it's not. You guys were getting along, no one was fighting, no one wanted to kill each other.
Us and them now.
Us and them.
Us and them.
You shut up! We don't even know your name, and you've only spoken twice in the episode.
You tried. We all tried, and look what they did.
No, look what she did! So the doppelgangers decide to rebel against them, the team decide to escape, and the amazing cliffhanger decides to reveal itself.
Trust me. I'm the Doctor.
Continue on to part 2, where the Doctor begins to become friends with himself. This is what gave the episode the most points for me.
Well, that sounds wonderful. Is that what you were thinking? Yes, it's just so inspiring to hear me say it.
I mean, this is just cool, and a lot better than what they did with the two tenants.
What now, Doctor? Well, time to get cracking, Doctor.
Just absolute perfect symmetry between the two. But what else would you expect from two doctors? Not that. But as the scene continues, I thought this part was kind of unnecessary.
Do we have time for this? We make time. I'd like more proof that you're me. Cybermans. Created by the Cybermen, they kill by feeding off brainwaves.
For one, it does put up a reference to the Cybermen because they are going to be coming back in the series. But the fact that he used that as an excuse to prove that the Doctor was more like him seemed kind of cheap. And it would have been better if we actually saw them saying that instead of just sticking to the shot with Amy, because it makes it seem like the conversation isn't noteworthy enough to cut to. So the doppelgangers continue to plot and the people continue to be stupid.
I heard in India there's over 10 million gangers.
Is there a reason why there are 10 million doppelgangers in India? I mean, if you have a few to help operate a mining facility, then that's understandable. But 10 million? Did they grow on their own, or are 10 million people plugged into them? It's not entirely important to the plot, but is there any explanation? No, of course not. Phenomenal.
Acid interacting with the stone, creating an asphyxiant miasm. What? Choking gas!
And is there a reason why they're taking the time to explain why they're choking? You're choking! Get the hell out of there! So they get the hell out of there, contact the mainland for an evac, the Doctor works his magic, and Amy tries to outact a wall. Hey, remember me? I'm a subplot. Now the next scene that follows continues with the balance of good and bad. You have the great acting of Matt Smith combined with the blatant stupidity of Amy Pond.
Can you die? If you really are the same, then you can die. You can be killed, and I might have seen that happen.
Why?
Why? Because you invited us to see it. You're dead.
Now wouldn't Amy be smart enough to have enough common sense to not be so stupid as to not be dumb enough as to know that the Doctor might sense that she said that to him, since she's already seen that they've been in sync with how they think? But of course we find out that the Doctor we thought to be the Ganger Doctor was actually the real one, so good job, you fucking moron. So the Doctor gets my hopes up by almost beating Amy like a redheaded stepchild, and the team begins to lose trust in him, still thinking he's the copy. And this scene just... I can't tell what it's trying to do.
Don't be so absurd.
Buzzer.
Sure, boss. Take a seat, mate.
Nice barrel. Pretty comfy. Why not?
Buzzer.
Sure, boss.
Oh my god, what's he gonna do? Is he gonna tie him up, or is he gonna hurt him? Oh, a chair.
Comfy chair?
So then Rory stumbles upon the two Jennifers and gets tricked into believing that the doppelganger Jennifer is actually dead.
When I found you, you were both flesh, and you tricked me into trusting you!
It was so easy.
We also get a plot point on how Miranda actually has a blood clot in her brain. Why is this important? No reason. Especially when the Doctor happens to have a magic juice that cures blood clots. So then we're given even more Miracle of Life symbolism.
Can you imagine what kind of hell they're in?
The Cleaves, the company, how could they do this? How could they?
Who are the real monsters?
Man!
And we're given even more Amy stupidity.
Something just cracked. I heard it.
Oh, really, Amy? I think we're all able to hear the giant cracking noise! So then the team gets locked into the unstable acid room and the doppelgangers unify, then quickly disperse. God, they just can't decide if they want to be evil or not. And I love how Jimmy is desperately trying to hold this lid down to stop the acid from pouring into the room, and yet no one else is helping him. In the end, the doppelganger Doctor reveals to the audience that they are very confused, and Jennifer turns into a giant sperm monster. You know, you could have just closed the door from the other side, but who gives a shit, I still can't remember his name. So Miranda and the useless guy survive, while the other Doctor and the other Miranda stay behind and die. Final things about this episode. I do have one last question. Did the Flesh create another sonic screwdriver? The Doctor had the screwdriver in the main hall, while at the same time the other Doctor had the screwdriver in the acid room. And if he does have his own screwdriver, then why does he give him his screwdriver? And if that's his screwdriver, then why does it melt? And then why does... Okay, hang on. Ganger Doctor gives Normal Doctor his screwdriver. Normal Doctor uses the screwdriver to find Jennifer. Ganger Doctor has screwdriver in acid room. Ganger Doctor sacrifices himself in the screwdriver. Okay, then the Flesh did create another sonic screwdriver. How? I mean, it's one thing to create clothes, but another sonic screwdriver? Then again, the TARDIS is a living organism, which might make the sonic screwdriver part living organism, which may mean that...
Get on with it. Yes, get on with it!
In conclusion, the two-parter episode was... I mean, a hell of a lot better than Curse of the Black Spot, but nowhere as good as The Doctor's Wife. Nothing will be better than you. Though watching the two-parter a second time did make it slightly more watchable. It also allowed me to see how the ending had more build-up when I realized that the Doctor actually knew beforehand about what the Flesh was. And that made it a lot more interesting and mysterious for me. And the cliffhanger was actually pretty disturbing, and Karen actually gave a believable performance, for once. Overall, the Rebel Flesh and the Almost People have some great visual effects, as usual. The Doctor's relationship with himself was like, well, having two doctors. Not that! Amy wasn't entirely as bad as she normally is. The characters were pretty plain, but then again, what else do you expect from generic white guys in jumpsuits? And the story was semi-okay, having a very basic premise and a sci-fi plot that I've heard many times before. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next Tuesday.
She looks like me, she looks just like me. Why don't you see her? She dances like me, dances just